Jackster does Plotagon.
I knew this was coming. Also, I am extremely sorry for the complete lack of uploads recently, nearly a month to be precise. I've been in the process of transferring my characters I have on Plotagon Story Desktop over to the glitchy and slow mobile version, which is taking absolutely forever. I will be using the free trial for Plotagon Studio just before Plotagon Story for Desktop discontinues. For today's video though, this is a requested review from a few of my classmates from school. And trust me, this is a show that I've been wanting to bash for ages now. Today, viewers, we're going to be looking at the Haunted Hathaways, a Nickelodeon sitcom that aired from 2013 to 2015 over the course of 2 seasons and 47 episodes. As for the show's reception, well, from what I have seen on IMDb, it's mostly been on the mixed side. Some people quite like it, some really hate it, or a few just find it a mixed bag. But what are my thoughts on it? Well, you can find out now. But, I have not seen the full series yet, but at the time of writing this, I was up to the 21st or 22nd episode. But to be fair, I don't think my opinion will be subject to change once I see the rest of the other episodes, because from what I have seen of the show, it doesn't seem to be increasing or dipping in quality, and it's not one of those shows that are dragged on for like 20 years where over time the quality of the show would drop. I'm looking at you, SpongeBob and The Simpsons. Then again, SpongeBob has gotten fairly decent again over time, while Simpsons hasn't. That is my personal opinion though, same for what I think of this show. If you like or dislike it, then that's fine. We all have our opinions. Gah, look at me, adding in filler when there's a review to be done here, and a video for the first time in nearly a month. And this will also be the last video on Plotagon Story for Desktop that I will make, due to the discontinuing of the application. Considering Nickelodeon's pretty bad standards for their modern sitcoms, will this one actually be an exception, or not? Let's see. The Haunted Hathaways tells the story of a mother named Michelle Hathaway moving her 2 daughters, Taylor and Frankie, to New Orleans where they open up a bakery. They come to find out that the house is actually haunted by Ray Preston and his 2 sons, Miles and Louie, as they are actually ghosts. The 2 families learn how to live with each other and tackle everyday problems together throughout the course of the series. Admittedly, I can see some slight potential in this storyline, as considering that this is a TV show, it could make room for some interesting storylines. This is not the case at all. The problem with this story is that, while it seems reasonable on paper, it is executed awfully, with many of the plots for each episode feeling predictable and sometimes rather cliché. Honestly, I think that only the pilot episode of this show is actually trying to tell a reasonable story, whereas the rest just try and be funny each time. And speaking of funny, this show is not that. Many of the jokes are very poorly executed and mostly juvenile. They would just make me roll my eyes, groan, or at worst, cringe hard. The shows have some gags to offer, but they pretty much get old after like the 4th episode. And let's not forget the extreme use of laugh tracks. You know that if a sitcom uses a lot of those, it is just wanting to be desperate to get a cheap laugh from the viewers. You hear jokes like Dwayne "The Sock" Johnson, and I guarantee that you will have slammed your head on the nearest desk you could possibly find with the joke. However, it would eventually at times try to tell a message at the end of each episode, so I can give it a bit of credit for just not relying on being funny every second of each episode's length. It's just too bad that these episodes weren't cleverly written. This story could have been fairly pleasant if it was taken in the right hands. But thanks to the poor execution overall, it just throws nearly all the potential away. I'm going to have to give the story a 2 out of 10. Considering that this show involves a haunted house with a ghost family, the show should present some pretty dazzling visuals, right? It doesn't. The visuals are actually really bad. I understand if Nickelodeon probably had a low budget for this show, but that is exactly what the effects look like. Low budget. The visuals would mostly come into play when there would be some humor or gags spilled out, but the work done on them just looks like something that came out of either a royalty-free effects site, or a movie effects app where you record something with your camera and choose from a wide library of effects to put into recording. Like, take some of the visual gags in the show. That is really where the cheese comes right in. By that, I mean that those effects just look cheesy. In fact, I'd say that the visuals are almost laughably bad. If Nickelodeon did have a low budget for this show, I just wish they would have tried a little harder with what they were stuck with. With all that taken in, I'm going to have to give the visuals just a 1 out of 10. So far, not so great for this show. But, can the characters make it all up? Unsurprisingly, no. Let's start with Taylor Hathaway, the eldest of Michelle's 2 daughters. She is a skilled gymnast who is easily agitated by her family and the Prestons. To me, she just seems like the bland elder daughter who doesn't get along with her mother. I don't find anything special in her. Next, we go on to Frankie, or as revealed in one episode, Francesca Hathaway, the younger daughter of Michelle and younger sister of Taylor. Taylor and Frankie don't get along as Taylor is agitated by her family, but Frankie is best friends with one of the Prestons, Louis. Honestly, I can't see any chemistry in the friendship at all, and I just find Frankie strange and annoying. And then there's Louis Preston, who is the youngest son of Ray Preston and younger brother of Miles. Oh, dear God. I cannot stand that guy. His sarcastic and rude personality makes me cringe. I hate how he just tries to be this cool kid all the time, because clearly he isn't. He tries to be funny with an overused gag, but it's overused, so it isn't funny nor fresh. As for Miles, the elder son, while he may be mannered, there really isn't any good qualities in him other than that. He's just bland, he doesn't really stand out that much, he's easily forgettable. Michelle Hathaway is the mother of Taylor and Frankie, and is a skilled baker who runs a bakery called Pie Squared. She really just doesn't get along with her older daughter like I mentioned earlier, and the fact that she doesn't get along with Ray Preston is mainly because they have little to no chemistry with each other. Speaking of Ray Preston, who is the father of Miles and Louis, he's just laid back and isn't good at disciplining his sons when they misbehave. Once again, he's just very forgettable, he doesn't stand out, he isn't funny, that's pretty much it. Also, is it just me or does he look a bit like Will Smith? Watch the show and you'll get a good image of what I'm talking about. As for the secondary characters, they really don't have much of a purpose, they hardly appear in the show and are easily forgettable. Plus, there's another problem with the characters that actually make them even worse than they already are. And that would be the voice acting, which is done so terribly, and really that doesn't surprise me because most of these actors are just ones we haven't really heard of much before and aren't that well known. And even worse, the bad acting for the characters makes them even more annoying than they already are, so really, the voice acting has just added insult to injury. If there's one thing I cringe the most at in this show, it is these disgraceful characters. And that is why I'm only giving the characters a 1 out of 10. This show could have had potential. It really could have. But this poorly executed mess makes it, in my opinion, one of the worst Nickelodeon sitcoms ever made. The Haunted Hathaways is a stupid, annoying piece of garbage that did seem like a promising concept, but threw it all away with a poorly executed story, humor that is so unfunny, visuals that only look good in amateur classes, characters that are extremely annoying and forgettable, and some terrible voice acting. I guess maybe very young children will like the show, but that's all I'm recommending it to. Very young children. Aside from that, skip this one completely. It isn't worth your time. The only purpose it has is to anger you, frustrate you and make you cringe. It might not be as bad as Marvin or Fred, the show, but it comes pretty darn close. The Haunted Hathaways has gained only 4 points out of a possible 30, which translates to an overall score of just a 1 out of 10. Phew, I'm glad I got that crud out of the way. I mean, I haven't seen the whole series, but I probably am not planning to do so from what I've seen. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, leave a like down below, and if you have only just discovered my channel and you like my content, consider subscribing and clicking the bell icon to be notified of any future content that I post. Before I go though, I want to say that I'm going to have to discontinue the reviewing format I introduced in my review of Cats Don't Dance. I know it didn't last long, but the fact that I had some other things people wanted me to review before I set up the format was putting me a little under pressure and adding to my list of already large amount of things to work on. I will try to get to Detective Javier in the future, hopefully. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video, which hopefully won't take another 4 weeks or so. Subscribe by clicking on my profile picture that has just popped up, and click on this profile picture that has just popped up to subscribe to my amazing friend, DBG channel, and click on these 2 squares that have popped up to check out my latest video and a random video for a bit of variety. See you in the next video.